Well, today we're here to announce that we'll be introducing a bill. It'll be introduced in both on the floor of the House and on the floor of the Senate tomorrow. And what that bill would accomplish, it would simply allow folks who so desire, who have demonstrated a lifetime of love and commitment to get married, even if they're same-sex couple. Over this past 10 years and more intensively over the past 2 years, we've had a very intensive conversation in the state of Minnesota about what marriage means, why marriage matters, and who should be able to get married in our state. I recently had a conversation with some constituents, and they made a very profound and a very simple statement. What if we were to put love at the center of everything that we debate and we discuss at the state legislature this year? The power of that idea is profound. This is a day to be very, very proud to be a Minnesotan, because Minnesotans have rallied around this unifying, this clarifying discussion about the power of love in our lives. And many, many Minnesotans over these past many years have been extremely brave, living their lives with courage, with openness, with authenticity, asking that they be granted the same freedoms that are guaranteed to everyone in our state, in our democracy, in our system of government, in our Constitution, and just by virtue of the fact that we're all human beings, equal in the eyes of God. So our challenge over these coming weeks, even though I think this shouldn't be a huge deal, but according to some people it is a big deal, is that we really, really have this discussion with renewed energy to really talk about why marriage matters, why family matters, why it's so important to come together in that commitment of a lifetime, to share the burdens of life together, to be able to ask friends and community to come and show that support, to hold us accountable to that commitment that we make in front of them, and to likewise be the source of strength and support to our family and our friends, and coming together, strengthening our community and our state. I was lucky enough to be able to get married 4 years ago under the laws of the state of California. Richard and I fell in love over 8 years ago. We got married 4 years ago. And the transformative effect of that ritual, that celebration, that coming together, that joyous day that our family came together was more incredible than words can describe. Our family understood us in a new way, even though they had been so loving and supportive throughout all the years. And since that time, we've had struggles. We've supported each other. There's nothing I wouldn't do for him. There's nothing he wouldn't do for me. We've supported our family in their struggles, helping take care of Richard's father, who's become frail. Now we're sharing in the joy of expecting a new baby that's due in May with Richard's niece. So really my message here today is we are affirming the things we value and cherish the most in our lives that we share across all of the state of Minnesota. We're affirming that thing that we all prize, love that is the center of marriage. Changing nothing, redefining nothing, affirming what we already know to be true and good. So we're introducing this bill in the hopes that the hearts of legislators will be touched by their constituents who are going to reach out and have this same conversation and tell their own stories about what lies at the foundation of their families and the love that they strive to achieve. And we're doing this because freedom is for everyone, democracy is for everyone. And freedom and love and democracy are all strengthened by taking this step. We'll talk a little bit about what the bill does, maybe in just a little bit, but I'll introduce Representative Karen Clark. We'll introduce our colleagues who are standing with us, and then we'll hear from some other folks.
Thank you. Well, I'll be brief. I am just so proud to be a Minnesotan today and to have arrived at this point where we're going to put into law the honoring of so many of our relationships in our community. I have to tell you a very personal story. A couple of days ago, my sister, who's 20 years younger than I am, called and said, "Karen, what day do you and Jackie celebrate your anniversary?" She knows we've been together about 23 years, and I said, well, there's several different important steps that we call it the time we came together. And I said, but you know, if we pass this law, I'll be able to give you an exact date because we'll have a wedding and an anniversary in Minnesota. And we have waited. I want Minnesota to be the place that tells me that my relationship is equal to other relationships. So I just want to say I think the journey has been long. It's been hard fought. Minnesotans spoke so loudly during this last election with refusing to adopt that proposed constitutional amendment. It was a very clear statement, and I think we're now ready to take the next step, and it means everything to our families. It means everything in terms of the kinds of responsibilities and accountabilities and rights that we will be able to exercise in the future. And I want to thank all Minnesotans for helping bring us here. So I think we're going to introduce a few of our colleagues here. I believe that. Are you going to speak first? Okay. Representative Steve Simon.
Hi, I'm Steve Simon from St. Louis Park and Hopkins. It's just time. It's simply time. It seems to me around here that the laws that we pass fall into three major categories. Laws that require things, laws that forbid things, and then there's this law, which would just be a law that allows things. It's that sensible middle category. We aren't prohibiting anything. We aren't compelling or requiring anything. We're simply allowing people to do what will come naturally to them and what so many of their brothers and sisters have had the opportunity to do for so long. This bill, because it only allows a joyous occasion to occur in the lives of so many of the people that we know, won't impact anyone's faith tradition, anyone's closely held personal or religious beliefs. In fact, and although I'm not here to go through a chapter and verse, line-by-line recitation of the bill, you'll see that this bill has very strong, very aggressive, and to many people very important and comforting religious protections, so that communities of conscience and others in Minnesota who may disagree with this bill won't be compelled to do anything, won't be required to violate their own consciences. This is a live and let live proposal. And as I said, it's simply time. Thanks.
We'll introduce our colleagues who are standing with us. We have State Senator John Marty, who has himself been a tremendous leader on this effort. We have State Representative Barbara Russo, State Representative Alice Hausman, State Senator Jim Carlson, former Auditor Pat Anderson. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thanks for your great comments. Oh, excuse me. Oh, and Representative Phyllis Kahn. Thank you so much.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Dr. Karen Sellers of the Minnesota Conference of the United Church of Christ. It's 135 local churches all across this state. It's more than 350 authorized ministers who serve in congregations, in colleges, in prisons, in hospitals, and more than 30,000 members. 8 years ago, in 2005, at a national gathering of our denomination, 6,000 United Church of Christ local churches and over 1 million members voted to affirm equal marriage rights for all, regardless of gender. Why did we do this? We did this because we believe that the Bible affirms human expressions of love and partnership and calls on us to live faithful and committed relationships, and that marriage carries with it significant access to institutional support, rights, and protections, that all persons are entitled to full civil liberties and equal protection under the law, and that families headed by same-gender couples should be treated no differently by our government, which is at its core supposed to be of the people, by the people, and for the people. 3 years ago, in 2010, delegates to the Minnesota United Church of Christ annual meeting added their strong resolve to this denominational commitment. They called on all of our local churches to adopt wedding policies that do not discriminate against couples based on gender, and they called on me to communicate to members of the Minnesota State Legislature and to the general public our support of marriage for same-sex couples. Although the composition of the legislature has changed since my individual correspondence with each member, the conviction of the faithful Minnesotans that I represent has not changed. On behalf of the Minnesota Conference of the United Church of Christ, I call on the elected leadership in this state to support this legislation and grant same-sex couples the freedom to marry. Thousands of families are counting on this, and the time to act is now.
Good morning. I'm Michael Adam Latz. I'm the senior rabbi at Shir Tikva congregation in Minneapolis. Ecclesiastes teaches that there's a time for every purpose under heaven, and now is the time for marriage. Our congregation at Shir Tikva and our denomination support the freedom of every loving couple to be legally married and believe that same-sex couples deserve the same opportunities to be celebrated by their community and protected by the law. You guys think the press conference is hard, try managing your kids. In addition to my duties as a rabbi, through which I've had the honor to preside over more than 200 weddings, I'm a dad. I stand here today with my beloved Michael and our daughters. We're a family in the eyes of God. We were legally married in Canada on Michael's parents' 50th anniversary last June. But right here, in my home state of Minnesota, the place where I was born, where we live, work, pay taxes, and raise our children, we are legal strangers. There are thousands of children like ours being raised by same-sex couples in Minnesota today. These children suffer each and every day that their parents are excluded from marriage. In 2013, because of the courage of a few, the Minnesota legislature has the chance to finally right this wrong. Our elected officials have the chance to ensure that all families are valued and treated equally in Minnesota. That begins with passing the legislation introduced today. On behalf of Shir Tikva, my community, and our family, I urge all the legislators to support this bill. We look forward to the day very soon, in the very near future, when our family has the same freedoms, responsibilities, and opportunities as every family in the state of Minnesota. And yes, girls, you can have a puppy.
Hi, my name is Amy Slusser, and Jesse and I have been together for nearly 16 years, and we are blessed to have 3 beautiful children, ages 6, 4, and 1, and as you can hear, the 1-year-old has a lot to say about this morning. We met at St. Olaf College in Northfield and lived in St. Paul for a couple of years before moving to New York City. We moved back to Minnesota 6 years ago to raise our family because we love this state. It's a great place for kids to grow up. And we've committed our lives to each other and to our family, but we're not yet married because we've never lived in a state where or when we've had the freedom to do so. But being able to legally marry each other and know that our family is valued in Minnesota like any other family is so important to us. We are so honored to be here today and so proud of the Minnesotans who have come together to bring marriage for families like ours to our great state. Together we've shared in joys and supported each other in sorrows. We lived in New York City during 9/11. We grieved and mourned the loss of my father 2 years ago. And we've shared our 3 best days, the births of our children. Our children know we'll always be a family, no matter what. But we all dream of the permanence that comes from the knowledge that our neighbors and our community and our state will always treat us as a family. That comes from marriage, and there's no substitute. Unfortunately, we know that there's at least one more best day yet to come, the day we get married in Minnesota.
Good morning. My name is Paul Melkert, and as a pediatrician and as a parent, I fully support extending marriage equality to all families. I've been a pediatrician in the Twin Cities for more than 10 years and have taken care of thousands of families in sickness and in maintaining good health. No, we want to have that. My anecdotal experiences in the clinic are unequivocally echoed in the myriad studies that continue to come out from after more than 25 years of research. The children raised in same-sex couples by same-sex gendered parents fare equally well in all areas of emotional, psychosocial, and behavioral adjustment as opposite-gendered parents. It's clear that children's optimal development is influenced more by the nature of their relationships rather than the particular form that it takes. They always say don't get in public with animals and children. I'll take that. All right. Last year, the board of the Minnesota chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics bravely, unanimously voted to uphold the right of all children and all families to the legal, financial, and psychosocial security that comes from having legally recognized parents who are committed to each other and to the welfare of their children. Security obviously comes through love and commitment, not from sexual orientation. The rights, benefits, and privileges that come from a legally recognized marriage cannot be obtained by any other means. All families benefit from the reassurance that comes from knowing that your family is safe and secure. I'd like to introduce my husband, James. You've met Emmett, and his twin brother, Gabriel, who will be turning 4 next month. James and I were united in our church in a ceremony of holy union, witnessed by our family and by our closest friends. And we'll be celebrating our 7-year anniversary in April. We are fortunate to have the unwavering love and support of both of our families. And we have protected our family through the limited means that's available through our current legal system.
I wanted to stop talking.
You didn't hear that, did you? However, what we have is not equal, and not all families have the same access to resources and the same support that we're fortunate to have. This places them at higher risk financially and places them also at risk for access to health insurance and to health services. Extending the freedom to marry to all loving and committed couples is in the best interest of all children and families like ours and thousands of others throughout the state. The rights, benefits, and protections for all people will continue to strengthen every family, families like ours. I'm done.
Doctor, could you spell your name for us?
Melchert.
And first name again, Doctor?
Paul.
Paul, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. We have a few minutes for questions. I did want to mention that Senator Branden Petersen, a co-author of this bill, has some in-district meetings, can't be here today, but he has a statement available, so you can see Jake Loesch if you'd like Senator Petersen's statement.
Senator, when would gay marriage become legal under this bill?
That's a good question.
January 14th. January.
Yeah, I don't think we have an actual effective date, so the default effective date would be August 1st.
Senator Simon touched on it a little bit, but I wondered if you might capsulize for us again this first page, the religious exemption.
Yeah, very quickly and very simply, we have included language in the bill in a couple of different places, actually, that simply affirm what is already true, and that is no religious congregation or clergy or those facilities that are owned and operated in furtherance of a religious mission on a nonprofit basis would either have to solemnize or perform a marriage that they don't agree with, or cater to a marriage for, this is what we call, of course, the Knights of Columbus Hall language. Knights of Columbus Hall wouldn't have to host a wedding reception that they didn't want to host.
And Senator, along those lines, some Republicans who are nervous about this might be more comfortable if there were exemptions for some small business. And the records in some of the other states.
Right.
Are you open to
Right.
that?
No state has actually allowed that, and that gets into a whole different area. We're not seeking to eliminate civil rights and non-discrimination statutes in the public square, and open up the Human Rights Act so that businesses that are that are open to the public to provide services on a for-profit basis can otherwise discriminate. That's not appropriate.
And I might mention that we've had 20 years of using that language in the Minnesota Human Rights Act with no problems.
And conscientious objections, then, that's what it would be called.
Oh, you know, we live in a civil society that doesn't permit discrimination on the basis of race, sexual orientation, on a number of other bases. Marriage does not confer, nor, you know, does not expand, nor contract, you know, does not create additional rights, does not limit folks' rights that already exist. We'll maintain the state of affairs in this state as it is.
Quick question for both of you. Do you have the votes now? And the other question is, could you do this solely with Democrats?
I don't know if we have the votes right now. I think we're close, but it's going to be a lot of hard work. And so my message today at this press conference is for folks to engage. That's what we have the legislative process for, so that folks can be in communication and relationship and contact with their elected representatives. That's what we have the committee hearing process for. I think we're close. I don't know if we're there. And again, I can't answer your second question because I just don't have the nose count, but I do know that this is not a partisan issue, that this is an issue that is shared broadly because the values that this speaks to are the values that unite us, and they're much, much more important than those values that divide us.
It's not a partisan issue. You are seeking Republican votes. You'd like to have Republican votes. You want this to be.
Of course.
Absolutely. We expect to have Republican votes, yes.
Senator, leadership has not exactly embraced this policy issue yet that they're called. Senator Bach here 2 weeks ago in this room saying that, look, we're not going to allow this to come up until after budget is in conference committee. Are you worried that leadership is not giving you the support that you would like?
No, we have very strong support from our leadership. To put a finer point on, I think, what leadership has been trying to communicate is that this issue is one of many policy issues that are queuing up on the calendar. If you've seen the general orders calendar, a number of policy issues are queuing up. And we're not going to really get to the bulk of those policy items until after we've really established some progress on some of the larger themes that this session has been really trying to prioritize. DFL is now in the majority, working with the DFL governor, and a big goal that we have, of course, is making sure that we have a fiscally balanced budget solution, that our tax system is fair and progressive, and that we're doing well by families supporting investments in the middle class. This is actually a part of that larger theme. This is about families being able to do well by each other. As is evidenced by the crowd in this room, this is an issue, if you put it out there, it gets a lot of attention really, really fast. And we have a lot of stuff that we're trying to work on that has a broad base benefit. What we don't want to fall into the Twin Stadium trap, is what I call, in which you say the word Viking Stadium, and all of a sudden that's all the reporters want to write and talk about. So this is about sequencing a debate and a policy item and a conversation in good order for the good of the overall session, because there's a lot of stuff that we need to accomplish this year.
And I would say, I would just say we have strong leadership support all the way to the governor's office.
Senator and Representative, there's going to obviously be national money, probably a fair amount of it, that's going to come to bear to try to defeat this initiative. How do you counteract that, given that there are some lawmakers, certainly in the House is going to be up for election first, who are reluctant to go this far, despite the defeat of the marriage amendment? How do you counteract the national pressure?
Well, money is just one factor in a large debate, and I've seen big money rein in on this legislature when a corporate interest is threatened, for example, and 45 well-dressed lobbyists parachute in. You see them; they come and their parachutes drop in right over the campus, from all over the country. And I've still seen the power of engagement of constituents overcome all of that well-heeled influence. And I think that is going to be the name of the game. Folks need to be, like I said earlier, in relationship and in conversation with their elected representatives.
And I would just say we had a trial run with a constitutional amendment, and the people of Minnesota spoke loudly and clearly, and I think my conversations with legislators indicate that many of them are paying attention to that vote.
Can you make the leap from the results of that vote to support for gay marriage, that the other side will argue that the outcome of that vote was not necessarily an endorsement of the concept of gay marriage?
Well, It is, you know, I'm not surprised they're saying that because that's about the only refuge they have to hide. But here's the truth. If you paid attention during that 18-month campaign that we had, the conversation that we had, and review the record closely, the newspaper articles, the paid media, and the nature of the grassroots conversations that we launched hundreds of thousands of times over. That conversation was, what is marriage all about? Why does marriage matter? Marriage is for everyone. Freedom is for everyone. Love is love. We enter into that commitment of a lifetime, and we pick up the same rights and responsibilities. It was a debate and a question that we've been having, by the way, for over 10 years about why marriage matters and marriage and love being at the center of all of our families. That's what the question that was asked and answered last fall, and that we've been at for over 10 years. And my sense is that public Minnesotans have come so far, so fast on this, and the legislature is ready to settle this question and simply move on.
We have time for about one more
Senator,
question.
opponents have also said that in the same way you and others criticize the amendment campaign as an overreach on social issues, that this is in effect the same kind of overreach.
Well, two things, two ways of responding. One is the Republican majority's crowning achievement in their legislative session last year was putting a divisive, hurtful amendment on the ballot on their way towards shutting down state government in steadfast refusal to work with their DFL minority colleagues and the governor. And that was overreach, and that was divisive. This is a completely different proposition. This is about expanding through love and generosity the ability of all Minnesotans to participate in something that's very important. And it's part of a larger set of issues that strengthen families and let people do better by each other that we're going to accomplish this year.
Well said.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.